I'd like to turn a little bit to the civil society, actually, because we've been hearing from policymakers and from the private sector about those issues. I would like to hear from Benoît Lallemand from Finance Watch. What could be tangibly done by the industry, and I would say by policymakers, in order to make sure that finance is supporting sustainable development?
Thank you, and thank you for having us. So we are just a bit older than the 2 Degrees Investing Initiative. We were created in 2011 after the crisis to provide a counterweight to financial lobby arguments in the context of the post-crisis reform. I know it's not a discussion today, but interestingly, there was a misunderstanding from the beginning because our motto was making finance serve society. And in fact, if you like, the motto of the G20 and the theme of the ambition of their agenda was making finance not hurt society, right? So I think it's good because now we are having this discussion around sustainable finance and about how these financial systems should actually support the economy and support society. Now, we're very much involved in these discussions. We'll hold a public event in December on this issue. We're working on an index of green financial centers with many partners to be released early 2018. We're also working on the beyond green, so everything related to natural capital. And so not just carbon, but all the rest of it. But if you allow me, I'll take my 1 minute and a half to go back to the bigger picture and something very positive, I think, that was mentioned on the panel about a political framework for sustainability and specifically the role the EU can show in taking leadership. So we look at sustainable finance. We have the 2 sides. We need to look at the demand side, which is really which is in the real economy, and then the supply side. I think on the demand side, you can, I mean, we all know, and it's been mentioned yesterday, that's where you can create the biggest boost in green finance by putting the right price on carbon, because then all of a sudden, these projects become, you create a huge pipeline. So that, it can't just remain an elephant in the room. We need to discuss that, including at EU level. And by the way, the market solution has not been working. We release a report on that in a few weeks. So there is something to do beyond the ETS. And then so you need this, as was mentioned as well, this ambitious plan for an EU economy that is zero carbon over the next few years. And then on the supply side, so the financing, I think we need to ask the tough question about, do we have the financial system we need? That's the sort of question we would have liked to see asked just after the crisis. And that is the fact that we've moved from, in 30 years, the financial system was drastically transformed, as we often forget. So we look at what we have today and we think, oh, well, it's always been that way. No. So we used to have 30 years ago, if you look at Belgium, I come from Belgium, a large chunk of the financial system was mission-oriented. So of course you had the balance sheet of governments, which was quite different from today, public banks, stakeholder banks, specialized banks, developing banks, etc. So I think we need to re-inject diversity in the financial sector and much more of the mission-oriented financing, because for them, sustainability is the key objective, it's not the risk. For the shareholder return-oriented sector, which is very helpful, but I'm afraid way too dominant these days, as we said, it's only a risk, and so it's going to take, and as Stan just said, the time horizon is so short that they just can't include it. So I think we can wait more than the 7 years that Christian mentioned. We can wait forever if we rely only on them. And then yes, finally, regulation in terms on the supply side. I think you need to do things on regulation to give direction to the financial sector and the private sector. You need mandatory disclosure, obviously, fiduciary duty. There's good work to be done, and it's good news that I think the Commission is moving forward on that. You need labels. You might want to look at prudential regulation. We all know this is being discussed. But so again, and I'll conclude with that, we all know about the climate risk, and it's been mentioned. There's also a big political risk, which has also been mentioned. We see it on the other side of the Atlantic. I think it's coming much closer. And so that this sort of audience and the EU shows this political leadership, I think that's what also people are demanding. So the political risk is that the discussion will then move to another sort of crowd, which will take measures that we probably don't like and push this discussion away. So I think there is a void to be occupied, and hopefully the EU can seize that occasion.
Thank you very much, Benoît, for fleshing out, I think in a holistic and very interesting way, what should be done on demand and supply side.